We're going to begin a new little series called Songs to Live By. Songs to Live By. And we're going to take some of the succulent snippets from the book of Psalms. And we're going to look at how we might live by these songs. I just looked up in the decade from 2010 to 2020, a number of people would pick out in that decade sort of the song of the decade. The song which is considered to be the number one song that epitomized the decade. And the first of these songs, I wonder if you know it, was called Dancing on My Own by Robin. Anybody know this song? Dancing on My Own by Robin. It goes like this. I'm in the corner watching you kiss her. Why can't you see me? I'm right over here. And she sings it like this, doesn't she? If you've seen it. She sings like that. I'll keep dancing on my own. And it's actually a brilliant expression of how many people feel, this sense that you are losing the one you love. The most played song ever on YouTube. Anybody want to guess what that is? It's not anymore Gangnam Style. It's not anymore Gangnam Style. Anybody heard of a song called Despacito? Despacito? I didn't know what the words meant, and so I looked them up, and the translation, and I realized it was a love song to sing to your loved one, and so I tried it on Leslie, and it didn't feel like the translation quite worked, because in English, the chorus goes like this. I want to breathe on your neck. Slowly. Real slowly. And so I got my best look. And he starts off the song about this, saying this. Oh, 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 no. Oh, 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 no. And I said, I want to breathe on your neck. Slowly, real slowly. And she said, shut up. Go away. The third song, which has been considered to be a great anthem of the last decade, is by a guy called Kendrick Lamar, which is entitled All Right. And in it, he says, all my life, I've had to fight. And his repeat phrase of the chorus is, you're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. And it became an anthem that was repeated over and over after the Black Lives Matter protests. You're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. In our culture, that we recognize there's something about songs, there's something about lyrics put to music which can grab people and express something deep and significant. There's an ability that comes through in the music with the words that is more than anything I could just say by the words on their own. And the Psalms are the ancient method devised by God himself, by his Spirit, to harness this reality. Like up until David became king, we don't think song was ever used in worship. And he kind of had this moment where he realizes, this is how my heart is cultivated to be a heart like my God's. And so we just want to use the next few weeks to highlight to you some songs that we feel God would love you to live by. Songs that he would love you just to repeat and sing over and over to yourself. So much to the sake that if somebody then said to you, hey, what's an anthem you live by? You would actually say, hey, this is it. This is what I live by. This it just comes out of me when I'm in every context. And so the first one we're going to look at is the Lord is my shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd. The most famous psalm, Psalm 23. We used to sing this when I first started going to church as a teenager. and I hated it. It was the most boring song I could ever imagine. Anybody, the Lord is my shepherd. I thought that's the last thing I want. But we need to find a new song, the Lord is my shepherd. It's like, yes. So why should you make the Lord your shepherd? Let's just look at this. Why would you make the Lord your shepherd? Well, the phrasing is interesting, isn't it? Because the first sentence of this psalm is the Lord. The first word is Yahweh. It begins with the Lord is my shepherd. Now, what the scriptures teach us is what you begin with is your shepherd. The thing you wake up and think about, the thing you begin your sentences with, the thing you formulate your ideas upon, the first thing in your mind and out of your lips is your shepherd so often. And what we found is in our culture, ever since Descartes came up with what's now called the Cartesian philosophy, is that I think, therefore I am. We begin with me. I start with me, and I become my shepherd. And so over and over again in our culture is you do you. You love yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be your own shepherd. Begin with you. It's over and over again. Miley Cyrus has got the number one at the moment with a song called Flowers. Does anyone know this song? The Flowers. Miley Cyrus is a very, very catching song, and she's singing it about the breakup of her relationship, which has recently happened. And she said, I didn't want to leave you. I didn't want to lie. Started to cry, but then remembered I can buy myself flowers, write my name in the sand, talk to myself for hours, say things you don't understand. I can take myself dancing. I can hold my own hand. Yeah, I can love me better than you can. And the song, okay, it's a breakup song. It's a song about the end of a relationship. So there's some form of how do I find solace in that moment? And the answer from Miley Cyrus is me. I become my own shepherd. And I just wonder, how's that going? How's that going, being your own shepherd? Most people would say that when everything depends on you, when you're the one who starts and carries everything, when at the end you're in a crisis and you're like, you only get to finish half of the sentence that you want to speak, when the first half of the sentence is me, that means you realize it all depends on me. What that means is that how well you do in your job depends on you. How well you do in relationships depends on you. Hey, how good a parent you are depends on you. Hey, how good a friend you are depends on you. How popular you are depends on you. How much money you earn depends on you. And you begin to think, a lot depends on me. There's quite a lot of pressure. And there's a direct correlation that sociologists have discovered between the change from something out there being our shepherd, our family or our faith, to us being our shepherd. You can graph it. Anxiety rises directly in correlation to how much people become their own shepherd. The more you think it depends on you, the more anxious you become. Because there's a whole load of stuff you can't deal with. Can you stop Putin invading? Can you solve world hunger? Can you prevent people you love from getting ill? Can you prevent there being a cost of living crisis? How's it going? Trying with those things. And so pressure grows, anxiety grows, disillusionment increases. There used to be a time, not that long ago, if you said to somebody, I write my own name in the sand, and I talk to myself for hours, they'd say, I think you need to see somebody. There's a problem. Isn't it? Whereas now we're like, no, that's the solution. But we used to think that's a problem. And malaise. The question is this: can you really love yourself better than others can love you? Now, human experience suggests, and all you need to do is go on social media for just 5 minutes, and you discover it really matters to us what other people think of us. If other people criticize us, it's called a fragile identity. Because I'm the one who seeks to validate myself over and over again, the challenge is I can't. I actually just need you to tell me I'm okay. I need you to validate me. Being your own shepherd isn't a whole lot of fun. Try it if you want. But when you're done, I'll give you a better shepherd. A better shepherd. If you were looking for a shepherd, why don't you choose somebody who's stronger than you, who's wiser than you, who's seen more than you, who's greater than you, who's kind of got a wider perspective than you? If you have a shepherd who's greater than you, then you don't need to be able to cope with the situation because your shepherd can cope with the situation. In fact, if you have a great shepherd, you don't even need to understand yourself because it doesn't depend on you. So it only depends on the shepherd. So you can be sitting there thinking, as I do regularly, I'm fairly confused by myself right now. Doesn't matter. Do I know who I am? Doesn't matter. Because my shepherd is going to deal with this. He's the one. The Lord is available to be your shepherd. He's available. I wonder if you want him to be your shepherd. In the scriptures, the word Yahweh, which is the word for the Lord, is used 6,800 times. You see, I do things like this. 6,800 times it's used by a whole range of people in a whole range of places. Yahweh is available to be your shepherd. Exodus 3 is where we see the name Yahweh first being used. It's God who approaches Moses in a bush, a guy who's a murderer, who's run away, who's failed, and God approaches him and says, hey, I'm going to give you a name I want you to call me. So Yahweh as a name, the Lord as a name, is something that God has given you. And he says, I want you to use this to me. Now, he didn't have to give us a name. He doesn't have to. Why would he? He could, just wander. He could just be the God who doesn't. But he approaches and says, I want to give you a name. Use this name to speak to me. Here, I equip you with something that you can use to approach me. It's his name that he gives us. And in Exodus chapter 20, we see the narrative develop. And he says, I've called you as a people. And before he gives the 10 Commandments, he says, I am the Lord, your God. Here's my name. I want you to be in relationship with me. And Jesus comes and he flings wide the invitation and says, you may not think that you could have God as your shepherd, but you can. Come in, have God as your shepherd. So I want you to recognize in the name the Lord the unbelievable claim in this name. Because Yahweh means I am, or I am who I am, or I am existence, or anything that exists only exists because I choose to make it exist. It's a name that doesn't quite land easily into English, but what he is saying is that nothing exists outside of me, and nothing could have existed or come into existence unless I chose to have it exist, and nothing can continue to exist unless I choose to have it continue to exist. I am the thing that defines everything that you've ever seen as reality. There's nothing that can affect me. There's nothing that can contravene me. There's nothing that can come against me. I am the eternal one. I am who I am. There's no degrading with God. He doesn't kind of gradually reduce in power. There's no half-life. There's not like an expiry date or a use-by date with him that he's going to run out. There's no contingency. Now, contingency means that there's nothing that kind of he depends upon. He's just constantly, wonderfully, gloriously, eternally the one who defines all existence. And what this means is wherever you go, I am. However you feel, I am. When you wake up in the morning, I am. When you go to bed at night, I am. When you wake up anxious, I am. When you're in the midst of challenge, I am. He is just constantly, eternally, fully the absolute and ultimate reality. If you walked into a contest, which you see happen over and over again in the Old Testament, there'd be the idea of a contest of the gods. And often what you found, and even what we find today, is that a god would be a territorial god. So there'd be like Molech, who would be the god of this particular area, or Baal, who would be the god of this area. Or there might be a god who had a particular skill to them. So there'd be a fertility god. If you want to have your crops grow, then go to this thing, go to this god. If you want to see your romantic relationships go to that god. And so there'd be a whole set of different gods. And the idea that's often brought through the Old Testament is that in this council of the gods, who are all present, kind of all showing their claim, then you zoom out and you zoom out and you zoom out, and there's one who stands above them all, and he laughs and he says, "You guys are not gods. I am the great God. You could go on the mountains, I'm the God there. You can go on the valleys, I'm the God there. You can go in the plains, I'm the God there. You can go into the hospital, I'm the God there. You can go to the funeral parlor, I'm the God there. You could go to the schools, I'm the God there. You could go to the commercial district, I'm the God there. You can feel good, I'm the God there. You can feel bad, I'm the God there. I am the God in every environment. I am." That's what he says. There's no territory that you could go to, no place you could escape to. You could flee to the furthest part of the oceans and he would still be there. His presence would still be there. So if you want a good day, start with the Lord. Start with the Lord. Focus your day around the Lord. Begin your sentences with the Lord. Begin your thinking process with the Lord. God says this. God's done this. God is this. God. Begin there. That's what it is to have him as your shepherd. Now, he doesn't just say the Lord is my shepherd, but he says the Lord is my shepherd, which is another phenomenal claim of the scriptures. My is a claiming word. It indicates ownership or attachment. So the astonishing thing about this God is that he says, I want to become yours. That you could use the word my about the I am, the ultimate reality of all existence. He's not just transcendent, but he's immanent. He's not just eternal, but he's relational. He lives in unapproachable light, but he says, come approach me. He holds the universe in his hands, but he says, come hold my hand. He's the one who knows all things, and yet he says, hey, why don't you come and know me? And not just know me, but call me yours. Yours. I want to be owned by you. I want you to be possessive over me. Because I'm a jealous God and I'm possessive over you. So it's not just he's a shepherd. He's not just a shepherd. He's your shepherd. Mine. Now, the reality is that to have a shepherd who says he wants to be yours is incredible. Because a lot of our shepherds don't always want us. They don't always want us. A lot of people we look to for comfort, for reassurance, for value, they don't always want us. They might be trying their best, but the reality is that to have one who says, I'm yours, and he's made a covenant in the cross to say, I'm eternally, permanently, constantly yours. He doesn't want you to call him yours temporarily, not tentatively, but totally. You're mine. You're mine. I'm yours. He's my shepherd. And shepherd, what kind of shepherd does that mean? Well, shepherds were a patient. We don't, if we were looking at the time when David wrote this, and you like asked to raise hands, like who personally knows a shepherd? Like everybody would raise their hand. But I just wonder, who personally knows a shepherd? Anybody? Yeah? Oh, look. So we have one. But you see, we don't, do we? We need to explain it to ourselves a little bit, what a shepherd is. Now, a shepherd was a patient protector, really carer, a caring profession. So there's so many different metaphors of God through the Bible, aren't there? Like he uses so many different metaphors, but he uses this one. And actually, Jesus claims the shepherd metaphor for himself. He says, I am the good shepherd. I'm a shepherd, I'm a shepherd, I'm a shepherd. And he says the Father, God, is the Father. That's a metaphor. It's a Father. And the Spirit is a counselor. So you've got the three members of the Trinity, and the metaphors used for each of those three is a caring metaphor. So God is a carer over you. So sometimes we think, like, I've got my problems, I've got my sin, I've got my issues. He won't want to hear about it. He's like, no, what I am is a carer. So I want to care for you. That's what he is, Father, Son, Spirit. And so Jesus says, I care for you so much that I'll lay down my life for you, and I'm happy to do so. I'm happy to do so. I will care for you. I'll care for you. So patience. Do you know the thing about sheep? Anybody know sheep? Do you know sheep? Yeah? Sheep, I mean, we city folk, we look at a sheep and think, oh, isn't that sweet? And country folk look at a sheep and think, isn't that stupid? They're so stupid. Like, sheep are so stupid. In fact, if you were to choose of all the animals what is the most stupid animal, sheep would be really high up the list. So here you are, here, just to encourage you and affirm you, you're really stupid. You probably will kind of wander off. You probably get your head stuck in a fence. Like, you're just a stupid person. And God loves to be your shepherd. He loves it. And you know what? I don't think you're stupid all the time, but you probably feel like me might sometimes do something a bit stupid. I just find I regularly just think, oh, why did I do that? So this week, little example. I just was meeting somebody for lunch, and we went to Nando's. And I don't know about you, but I feel like if I'm going to eat out, I want to have something that is different from what I eat at home. And it had on anybody been to Nando's recently? Yeah. It had on the menu, for a limited period only, extra hot sauce. Wusa. They call it Wusa. And I thought to myself, challenge accepted. So I just made sure everyone knew. So I ordered it really loud. And the waitress looked at me and was like, you understand that's a really, really hot one? And I was like, oh, yes. She's like, you're very brave. And I said, it will be fine. So I'm sitting talking to this guy, and from the first mouthful, I couldn't listen to a single thing he was saying. And I was trying so hard. I was like, Lord, please don't let him bring up a problem right now. Let's just keep the conversation light and airy when I can just say wonderful to everything he says. Because there's starting to be like a sweat. Have you ever had that really hot food and you can feel the sweat forming on your brow? And the waitress who'd served me came over and she was like, how's the food? And everything in me wanted to say, are you sure this is the extra hot? Because it tastes quite mild. But all that I could do was go, oh. And I thought to myself, I'm meant to be a pastor. I'm meant to be meeting people for their spiritual good. And all I've done is chosen something stupid from the menu that means I'm no use to anyone. And because I'd already thought about this talk, in that exact moment, as I just sat opposite this person, I thought, I'm so pleased you're my shepherd. Because you know that I'm stupid. This doesn't put you off me. This isn't one of those moments you're like, go sort yourself out and then come back. In this exact moment, you love me and want to care for me. So here's the thing about God as your shepherd. He doesn't need you to be at your best. In fact, he will shepherd you when you're at your worst. Your absolute worst. When the menu that you've chosen from is not the Nando's food menu, but the menu that the enemy loves to offer you of all the temptations and all the sins, and you say, I'm going to take that one. And he says, I'm your shepherd. I'm your shepherd. And he's also a protector. How are we doing for time? He protects. The shepherd sees the threats before the sheep do because the shepherd stands higher. His eyes are higher than the sheep's eyes. Like the sheep's eyes are normally about here. About there. I'm looking at you, Zach. About here. That is, we've got scientific proof that a sheep's eyes are at this level. And most of us, our eyes are higher. And so that's the same as the Lord. His eyes are higher. He sees more. He understands more. He gets more. And so he acts as our protector. Now, there's sometimes sheep that, because they're stupid, they get scared of things they don't need to be scared of. They just get a bit... Do you ever get scared of things that you don't need to be scared of? You look back and think, why was I scared of that? I just think there's so many times in my life I'm really nervous about something that's going to happen the next day, or I start playing out like, what if this happens, or what if that happens, or... And he's like, it's okay. You don't need to be afraid right now. There's nothing to be afraid of. The shepherd would just sometimes sing or speak or just be present. He'd just comfort the sheep. There's other times where you should be scared. There is a wolf. There is a wolf. And the shepherd settles the sheep by standing present and saying, I will protect you. I am over you. And I've had conversations with you. Many of you have said, yeah, the Lord really stood in this place with me there and calmed my fears, protected me. Now, he is the one who protects. That obviously doesn't mean that we never have any harm done to us. We know that. Jesus went to the cross. We don't, in this life, we will have many troubles. But his protection is greater than for this life. It's greater than just for the temporary experience today or tomorrow. His protection is eternal. Even though you die, he'll raise you up, he says. And so the protection he offers is superior and great and everything. Now, the Lord is your shepherd. Shall I tell you another story about Leslie, or shall I miss that out? Miss that one out? See, I'm scared right now. I'll just really briefly tell you. Because I think it's illustrative and helpful. What is it? It's okay. You'll look good and I'll look bad. So I think Leslie wouldn't mind me saying that Leslie probably would be a more anxious person naturally than I would. And what we discovered was that Leslie would like to talk through situations when she was anxious. And in those moments, she'd be like, I just need to tell you about this thing. And often the moment that she would choose would be late at night. So she'd be like, I just feel really anxious because I just feel like we're just going to, and she'd talk about this thing. I just feel we haven't got enough money. I thought it was going to run out of money. Oh, I just feel so much better for saying that. Thanks, good night. And I would be like lying in bed. We haven't got enough money. Hey, what the heck? And she'd be like, she's offloaded this thing. And I said to her, look, this is not helping. This last minute, anxiety bomb that you drop on me. I'm awake till 3 a.m. with these things. We've got to find another way to do it. And so she would then be like, well, in an evening, and she'd just start talking. And sometimes I'd think, I've heard this before. I didn't understand. I thought, I've heard this before. Yeah, you're anxious about this thing with your family or whatever. And you told me this last week. So if I'm really honest, I would just switch off. I'd just switch off. I'd be kind of thinking about my fantasy Premier League team. I'm going to sub this guy in and this guy out for next week. And she'd be talking about this. And I just think, you've told me this. Why do I need to hear this again? And what I didn't realize is that she wasn't telling me so I knew. She was telling me because she wanted a shepherd. And she got to a point, finally, she basically said, look, I just realized you can't give me all I need. I was like, but I want to breathe on your neck real slow. Slow. Real slow. And she was like, I think maybe the Lord is a better shepherd than you, Tom. It was the best thing ever. Now at night, if she starts to jibber jabber, I can just say, why didn't you tell the Lord? And he helps. He really helps in ways that I could never help. So, look, whatever your personality, the Lord offers you himself as a shepherd. And the final thing that I want to say is the Lord offers himself as a shepherd in the present tense. In the present tense. I've got Hannah to come and help give a little illustration for this. So listen, after all we've said, and hopefully it's been quite fun, but there's a reality that the Lord is your shepherd. He is your shepherd. Okay, so we can have like a chord playing, which hopefully will remain. He is the shepherd, eternally and constantly. I wonder if we could have it. So it constantly remains. He is permanently your shepherd, right? He is the shepherd. And you can be like, oh, he's the shepherd, right? Wow, wonderful. But the reality is that he wants to be the shepherd in the present tense. In this present tense, which means not only is there this concept that God is a shepherd, but in this exact moment, you say, you are my shepherd, God. And so there's like a little now moment. Now moment. Now moment. Now moment. This would have been better on the synth, wouldn't it? Can we do it on the synth? Have you not got a synth? All right. Imagine the chords playing eternally and never stops. And then there's this moment where now, he is your shepherd. He is your shepherd now. Now. He is your shepherd now. So you're walking into a job interview and you're like, right now you are my shepherd. You hear news of like a terrible medical diagnosis. You are my shepherd right now. You are the shepherd, but right now you are my shepherd. I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Right now you are my shepherd. Like my enemies are standing over me. Right now you are my shepherd. And there's a reality that I can't give you. I can tell you that the Lord is your shepherd. And you could leave here and say, he is my shepherd. Oh, yeah, he's my shepherd. Wonderful. But unless you cultivate and actively develop those moments where you say, now, he is my shepherd now. God, be my shepherd now. You are now, my shepherd. This will just become something that's high in the sky. So cultivate, deliberately lean into. How do you do that? You sing the song, the Lord is my shepherd. You say to him, you are my shepherd. You live by the song by actively repeating to yourself, God, you are my shepherd, be my shepherd. Thanks so much, Hannah.